please join me in welcoming Bob Rudis.
So this is a talk for, I think it works for everyone, but it's kind of geared towards service providers and large organizations. So if you're in one of those two categories, could you raise your hand? Cool. Hopefully, as this package evolves, and maybe you might use R if you actually, how many people use R too? Because this is going to be an R-focused talk. Good. There's a nice tiny focus, you guys. This is what I'm trying to do is like take some of the practices we're doing internally, open source them, and give tools to folks out there so we can all make security better at organizations, like help organizations have better security outcomes. And so just quickly about me, for about 20 years I had a real job like most of you, and then I did this thing called the Data Breach Investigations Report for a couple of years, and now I'm Chief Data Scientist at Rapid7, and I don't have a real job because I'm not actually out there in the trenches having to do hunts, having to actually keep organizations safe every single day. I work at Rapid7 Labs where we do lots of research and we do lots of reports, and I do lots of work, but you guys are kind of the unsung heroes of security. There's a really old book out about this stuff called Data-Driven Security. It is like 5 years old. I feel real old because of that. If you also would like to play with some data, opendata.rapid7.com. We basically give away all of our scan data. So if you want to have at that, it's all yours. Just sign up and go to there and we'll do that. And for folks that use R and don't know my R stuff, there's about 90 packages out there that are related to cybersecurity stuff. So have at that as well and keep out there. And there's another one now. So this is like my obligatory Mitre attack slide. I've been talking about attack publicly for about a year now. Actually, attack kind of kept me in cybersecurity. I was getting really down about cyber for a while. And then when attack came out, I got like really invigorated again because it was filling a really missing gap everywhere. And we've really embraced attack at Rapid7, especially within Rapid7 Labs and our managed detection and response practice, where we kind of deal with a whole bunch of organizations and dealing with response for those folks. And for a while, we were hand coding. I think everyone's probably felt this pain, hand coding our incidents and the detections from the environments and from the hunts people did to attack. Starting in January of this year, that is an automated process, very similar to the couple other automated processes that you've heard up here. So I love that theme that I've heard today. Whoever organized this, again, did an amazing job because like it cascades down really well. You can do the automation. It actually will work. And it's actually pretty cool. And I will show you some of the results from that here. If you want to see attack-based reports, our quarterly threat reports, starting with, especially with this quarter, are all basically doing attack-based metrics and no other type of metrics that are out there except for the stuff that we see in our global honeypot network. So attack is kind of used mostly on red and blue teams right now. At least that's the way I've been seeing it used as I talk to folks. You're out there in the trenches, you're doing the work, you're at the defending, or you're like in the pen test team or the red team, and you're actually trying to go out there and do things. But those are two ways of actually using it. But it actually, I don't see attack being used at the layer 8 team a whole lot. They're also not very colorful at the layer 8 team. And so my goal with this one, and we do this on a regular basis, is to try to use attack at a macro level to convey what's going on across all of our customers, and then to each of our individual customers, and at an industry level, so that we have the ability to kind of give an idea of what's happening, what's missing, and I'll kind of go through some of that right now. So all the slides are online. I'm not a big GitHub fan, but I think everybody else is. So I stick my stuff everywhere so that you're not locked into a closed platform. Sorry, one of those guys, yeah. So it's all out there, and all this stuff is out there, and you can grab it from there. We'll give you a high-level view of it now since we don't have a whole lot of time to go into detail. So why R, first of all? It's why R because I like R, so I program in R. I program in everything, but I kind of program in R. But why am I doing this in R? Why am I trying to get you to use R to do this stuff? So this is R. It's open source, just like all the other things that you probably use are. It's mission built for doing data science type tasks, which include visualization and other types of analysis. In this particular case, it's got a very rich ecosystem for doing data visualization, and that's one of the things I like to actually try to do with it. And R isn't just R. Much like Python and other tools, R can interface with lots of everything. So every one of those lists up there, plus the ellipses, R can interface with pretty much any other language out there, and you can use it really effectively and a lot more effectively than you can for those languages from other languages. So if you haven't tried R, I encourage you to give it a shot. But if you're going to use R, you really need to use RStudio. And I'm doing this, so I'm not even pimping RStudio. It's a free product as well, too. And the reason why I'm saying to use this one, it really makes R kind of like, and this is the way I kind of use it, and there's other folks that use it this way. It's kind of the best DFIR investigations console ever made, and even though you don't know about it. So you can do all sorts of stuff within it. It's a source code editor. You can execute things line by line. I'm going to talk about notebooks in a second, so if you're a notebook fan, you can do stuff in a notebook format. And if you want to use your favorite language instead of R in it, you can, even in kind of REPL format as well, too. So RStudio is a great environment for doing all sorts of things. It kind of wraps R up and kind of gives it even more superpowers than it already has. So more reasons for why I use R, so I'm going to calm down a little bit now. R Markdown is one of the main reasons why I think R and doing things within an R context work really well. R Markdown, there's two flavors of it, a notebook format, so if you're one of those weird Jupyter Notebook fans, this is kind of like that. I'm not a big notebook fan. I think browsers are for browsing and real things are for real things. So just a little opinionated, that's all. But you can also like code up reports that you can actually write in here too. So one of the things you actually get with this, which I'm going to show you, is like an already pre-built canned report for actually generating some initial high-level visualizations that will get expanded over time as the package increases. So R Markdown is really cool, and it isn't limited to just the R language. You can do Python stuff in it. You can do Scala stuff in it. You can do anything you want to in it. It's very expandable, and it kind of does a whole lot of things. It can also do application building. It's a really, really simple application building interface that ties code and code logic and presentation together in a very straightforward way so that you have the ability to create interactive presentations. And one of the goals of this, as you'll see towards the end, is I'm going to help build an app so that you can actually have the ability to do this without coding. What's the purpose of attckr? So some of the initial purposes of it are to answer questions like, what does the distribution of tactics and techniques look like across my customer base, within a customer, in a particular industry, however you want to slice up the categories? Where do we have technology gaps, either as us, a provider, or as organizations? Where do we have workforce gaps? And I'll talk about that a little bit down. Where should we invest our limited budget in certain defense technologies or certain defense processes? How does this thing compare with that thing? And that could be anything, like these tactics usage against these tactics usage, or attacker uses of tactics versus this attacker. You can do all this because we have the ability to now kind of put things into a particular format. I end with what's the dwell time trend as well too. I'm a really big fan of dwell time in the DBIR. We call that the detection deficit. I have to call it dwell time because we call it dwell time at work. So that's what I'm going to do there. So one of the things you get with this is a kind of pre-built set of things that make it easier to use the CTI format. I think as the previous speaker just said, you can stare at the CTI JSON. It's like looking into the heart of the TARDIS. It's beautiful, but it will drive you mad. And it's not very suited for data science tasks at all. As I was telling Katie before, I'm really not a big fan of Excel, but I'm a big fan of rectangular data. So I've rectangularized a lot of the CTI data, stuck it into here so you can use it. Plus, I provided other tools and mechanisms for you to take that data and enable it to do other kind of data science tasks with that, or visualization tasks on there. So I'm not going to go through those all in here. I wanted to put it here as like a teaser for what you can do with it to have it out there. But the thing about this is every time Mitre updates the CTI format, this goes out, grabs it, rebuilds the package, retidies all the data, and puts it back out there so you have no work on your end to kind of go do this. So what I did for the stuff I'm going to show you today is we actually use Mitre, the Mitre attack framework, and we code all of our incidents in it, like I said. Some of it's through automation, some of it's through the hunt data that the folks actually do themselves for things. This is a sample of JSON that I'm using that's kind of the foundation of the data that I've got all the visualizations based on here. Don't get hung up on this JSON. I'm going to support using whatever you guys want. So whether it's the sticks format or whether it's the new Mitre attack format for doing like the sharing of these things that's going to be out there. And like I'm really hoping that like Varus and Attack have some kind of love child that gives us the ability to have a really cool data set that gives us this macro view of these things as well. So V2 of Attacker, or V0.2 of Attacker, is like, what do you get out of the box with this one now? And you're going to get the ability to analyze dwell time metrics, produce attack heat maps in a way that I like to produce them, and I'm hoping to convince you of this. And also a way to look at what I call cumulative attack tactics distributions. It's a fancy sounding thing that hopefully won't be too complex. The thing on the left is one giant HTML page that got generated through an R Markdown report. What you see copied and pasted across all over there are some of the expanded sections, so let's just go through some of them instead of actually trying to stare at that screen. So this is all, you basically load up, you create, this is all done by actually just going into the package, starting a new R Markdown file that's based on this template, giving it your data, and then it magically makes all these charts for you. So you don't have to do like literally any work except get your data into the format. So I took a sample of all of our incidents. I took all of our incidents, I created a distribution based upon all those incidents, and then I created a selected sample of that distribution for putting into the package. So you get real-life incidents, or at least a picture of real-life incidents based on the distribution of incidents that we've actually seen, with me removing some things so I could have some talking points today. So one of them here is you get to see dwell time based upon this incident data set. And the cool thing about this is like the whole idea is you want to actually reduce dwell time, right? So like you get the ability to show these reports, have them available, and also look at them over time. So this is looking at, that was for the overall one, this is looking at it by quarter, and then it's looking at the overall, and it's a little harder to see with the colors, but you basically get the over time view of how you're doing with the dwell time, so you can communicate that back to show how well your technology is doing or how well your folks are doing kind of working at these things. You can generate that in a bunch of different ways. So there's a heat map view of doing the dwell time as well. And then you can actually look at it more specifically, and this is a better view of the other one, kind of look at dwell time specifically by month instead of by quarter. So lots of slicing it different ways. If you want more views, submit an issue. I don't care where in those repos you do one, just submit an issue. I'll be glad to put it out there. It's actually not that much work. It's also not that hard to copy and paste the template code to do it yourself. So I love this heat map versus the ones that I've seen generally produced, which shows the entire framework, and then you've got like little things colored here and there. So what I've done is created a way to, with one call to one R function, generate a heat map that's sorted by the most occurred technique within that particular tactic, and then put it out there. You can do it like this way, or you can do it proportionally. You can do it over time. I'm going to go back to this one real quick. So what I've also done on here is I've deliberately left out some things that we had because you get to immediately see gaps, right? So you know that this is nowhere near as big as the entire Mitre attack framework. You also see that privilege escalation, discovery, and exfil are missing from this particular one, and I did that on purpose. I'll talk a little bit more about why that's important in a minute, but being able to see where things aren't there is almost as important as seeing where things are, or what things are where, because you might have to deal with what those gaps actually are out there. So you can see it over time as well too, to see what's changed over quarter. And so I wanted to kind of go to this one and almost land on this one. So this is a cumulative attack distribution, and the numbers are a little harder to see. It's probably easier online. You can grab the slides and look at it. So what I've done is it accumulates all of the tactics that have occurred, all the techniques within a tactic that have occurred, and we basically sum all those up. We get the percentage of those, and we just add those over, since we actually have a really nice open source I can do this, a really nice open source kill chain that we can use to see the things progress over to each individual category. So what you're seeing, and I think there's a button, actually here we go. So you can see there's gaps in privilege escalation and lateral movement, and what we can do at work, which will eventually be in the package, is drill down into both what's in each individual category, so what are you finding versus what aren't you finding, but then you also get to see like what isn't there. So why isn't that stuff there? And it's a great conversation to have about maybe the folks that your customers might have technology gaps, like they might not have things that detect things that are feeding into your environment to be able to find these things. You may have gaps in your log parsing for those things, or you may have incident responders that don't like to deal with those types of events and just kind of ignore them. So this gives you a way to identify those areas and see where they are, and kind of maybe have some like more tools at your disposal to investigate and dig into things a little bit better. Then you can also do really cool things, like for us, do it by industry. So again, it's a little harder to see, but this is basically a combined cumulative graph that shows how each individual's industry tactics and techniques distribution looks compared to each other. It's pretty much like, there's a similar pattern, but some of them look a little bit differently. I did sort of jury-rig this one to make it look differently. But this way you can see what's happening across all of those and have the ability to do more stuff. So what are we going to do? We're going to add more charts. We're going to add more discrete timestamp support, more functions, hopefully get you to the point where the zero coding skill is required, and give you some event stream analysis. So basically think Mitre attacks with incidents, and then do clickstream analysis on that to be able to do really interesting distribution checks against what might be the most prevalent thing in your environment and why. And I got 30 seconds.
Nailed it. Well, please join me in thanking Bob.
Thank you.